All right, y'all, we're back. It's so crazy because now I do so many videos in between the shows.
Yeah.
That it's almost like those videos are shows too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It's like, did we ever leave? I don't know.
No, we never out of the studio.
I just finished my show, personally.
Yeah, you did. And mine's dropping later today. But let me give you guys an update on what went down. Last time I came to you, I pointed out that Trump announced a ceasefire deal on Truth Social like that. And Iran initially came out and said, we have no idea what he's talking about. That's not true. We haven't received any ceasefire proposal. But then after that, like maybe 20 minutes later, a different Iranian official came out and said, yes, we agreed to a ceasefire. And so at that point, it's just like totally confusing. Netanyahu initially said absolutely nothing about it. And then again on Iranian TV, they came out and said, nope, there's no ceasefire. But then you had like the second in command in Iran come out and say, well, I guess there's kind of a ceasefire. If Israel stops attacking us, we'll stop attacking them.
Yeah, which was a way of admitting like, okay, yeah, there's a ceasefire, but not completely disputing the things that have been said earlier, you know?
Right. But it was like ping pong, back, forth, back, forth, back, forth, back, forth. And so then I'm up late at night watching what's happening on Twitter, and since the ceasefire announcement, Israel launched at Tehran and did an attack. Then Iran launches a number of waves back at Israel, and then I fell asleep, woke up today, and then Crystal, I'll let you take it over.
Yeah, so you pulled this tweet that has the rundown of all the different things that happened. So Trump declared a complete and total ceasefire. Hours later, Israel's airspace is shut down. 4 civilians in Beersheba, that's in Israel, are killed. Missiles are flying from Iran. Israel's vowing retaliation. Trump is begging Netanyahu to stop bombing Iran, and Tehran is denying everything like it's open mic night at the UN. So
Israel's is denying everything, not Tehran.
It says Tehran.
Oh, it says Tehran? Okay, because I thought that was Israel. Anyway, go ahead.
Could be both.
Okay.
So Trump came out this morning and made some pretty wild statements on his way, I think, to either the helicopter or Air Force One. He said he is very unhappy with Israel. Quote, Israel, as soon as we made the deal, they came out and they dropped a load of bombs, the likes of which I've never seen before. The biggest load that we've ever seen. I'm not happy with Israel.
Big loads.
I knew you'd like that.
They got big loads.
You know what? When I say, okay, now you have 12 hours coming up, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either, but I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because the one rocket that didn't land, that was shot perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I think he's talking about Iran had shot like one rocket, and that's what Israel was complaining about, claiming that Iran had violated the ceasefire. He says, I'm not happy about that. We have basically two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. So that was Trump this morning.
He put some spice on that part too.
Yeah.
He was like, they've been fighting so long and so hard. He leaned in and was like, they don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, oh, snap, son.
Yeah.
But tell me your read on it first before I give you my take on it.
I don't know what the fuck is happening. Like, I think that this could be all more theater. We've already used twice, just in this context, not to mention with Qasem Soleimani, the appearance of diplomacy to create a pretext for a surprise attack from Israel and then our own attack directly from the U.S. From the Iranian perspective, it doesn't surprise me that they wanted an off-ramp because they never wanted an on-ramp to begin with. From the Israeli perspective, I can imagine that they agreed to this because we would know they were running low on interceptors and perhaps needed a chance to sort of regroup and reframe. Do I think that any of this means that this is like over? No, because ultimately we know that Netanyahu, the Israelis, and their supporters, they want complete and total war with Iran involving the United States. They want regime change. They want regime collapse. They've been wanting this for literally decades, and they will continue to do whatever they can to effectuate that outcome. In terms of what Trump is thinking, I have no fucking clue. No idea. He could be genuinely frustrated with the Israelis. I think there's a possibility that the Israelis sold him a bill of goods of like, this will be quick and easy and the Iranian regime will collapse and we'll be greeted as liberators, and he was dumb enough to believe that. And now he's pissed off because he realizes that he was lied to. I think that's possible. I think it's possible that this is more This is like the next level up from the leaks to Barack Ravid that he's very frustrated with Netanyahu. It could be that as well. So, I don't know. That's where I am.
So that's my read on it, the last part, because it feels like kayfabe. It feels like kayfabe. It feels like it's all an act. It feels like now instead of just the press reporting, oh, Trump and Netanyahu were really angry at each other, now instead of the press doing that, it's like he's just acting that out publicly. Because to your point, we've been through this before. When with Qasem Soleimani in 2018, Trump in the U.S. lured him somewhere with diplomacy and then murdered him with a drone.
Right.
The Gaza ceasefire, that was completely and utterly fake, and it was fake from the beginning. This round of negotiations with Iran, the multiple rounds, they were all totally fake because the U.S. had already agreed to and were planning on doing the bombing. They've been planning since day one of the Trump regime to do this bombing on Iran. So all the talk back and forth about they're being unreasonable, I don't like this, why, we're giving them a deal. All of that was totally fake. There was no deal. They had already agreed on we're going to attack them, and they were just fucking dragging them along. So my instinct on it is that, because, you know, one of the other things is the name of the Israeli operation is Operation Rising Lion. And Rising Lion means it's the Persian flag. The old Persian flag had a fucking lion on it.
Under the Shah.
Yeah, so the idea is we want to get rid of the Shia theocracy and get rid of the Grand Ayatollah and the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, and we want to bring in the son of the Shah, Reza Pahlavi, or have some secular dictator puppet to the West who's in control. And so when I look at that, I think it's just so hard to imagine that Trump could feed the logic of this from the beginning up to this point and then just pull the plug completely and say, no, we're getting out of it, because the wheels are already in motion. And if you stop now, and you've made this point, I think it's correct, if you stop now, you guarantee that Iran has a nuclear weapon in 6 months to a year. You guarantee it. Because now, you taught them, the only way we can fucking protect ourselves is if we have a nuke. They're not fucking with Kim Jong-un because he has a nuke.
Right.
We need a nuke, so this doesn't happen again.
There was something else that was noteworthy in the longer clip of Trump speaking this morning, where he was going on this rant about CNN and MSDNC and about how they were disputing that Iran's nuclear capabilities were completely and totally obliterated. That I thought was interesting too, because that seems to be an attempt from Trump to claim some kind of victory here. Because otherwise, what did you accomplish? Nothing. All you did is make it much more likely that Iran actually does pursue a nuclear weapon.
Correct. All
you did was put American service members at risk with, whatever the Iranian retaliation, which ended up being quite limited and telegraphed to the U.S. in advance. But we didn't know what they were going to ultimately do in response. So he's trying desperately to cling to his narrative that oh no, we destroyed their nuclear capabilities. And so if you're clinging to that line, it makes it very vulnerable for that's not reality. So then what are the Israelis and their allies going to do? They're going to continue to point out well, look at this facility that's still operating, and oh, here's the enriched uranium, and now they've moved it here, and now you've got to make sure that you take that facility out. So they're going to continue to work every angle to continue to accomplish their objectives. And this is not our first trip to the rodeo with Donald J. Trump. He was the most pro-Israel president in history in his first term. The Israel lobby has his ear and has been able to get everything out of him that they have ever wanted, including, these regime change bombings in Iran. So, you definitely wouldn't, I think it would be foolish to count them out and say, no, he's finally putting his foot down, and that's that. I think that is very likely to be how this thing ultimately concludes. But let's say it is. Let's say he's pissed off at Netanyahu. He feels lied to. He's done. He doesn't want to bomb Iran anymore. Number one, are you going to stop arming the Israelis so that they stop bombing Iran? Because are you going to actually force the Israelis to stop? Because if our proxy is doing it, it's not that much different than us doing it directly. That I think remains the big question, is whether you are actually going to exert pressure on the Israelis, real pressure, and there's just no indication from Donald Trump's record that he would do that. But let's say fairy tale land that he actually does. It's still been a disaster. Even what we've done to this point is already a disaster in terms of the incentives it creates for Iran to pursue a nuclear weapon, which frankly they should have done long ago apparently, and for other countries around the world who are going to look at all of this and come to the exact same conclusion. solution.
And let's be clear, it is a fact that the enriched uranium was out of those facilities, and they've protected it, and they've moved it, and they still have it. That is a fact.
Yeah.
It's also a fact that the initial reporting from both Ken Klippenstein and Seymour Hersh was, yes, regime change has been greenlit. So then the question is, did Trump just get cold feet, fearing that, holy shit, this is actually going to require like ground troops and all sorts of shit? Or is it just kayfabe and part of the play and the next level of what you said, the Barack Ravid, when, Biden's really mad at Netanyahu, and then like the week after he sends him like $1 billion more in weapons, which means he's not mad at him at all, and it's just fucking acting. It's the US president trying to save face, trying to be like, hey man, if this war keeps going, it's not on me, now it's on the Israelis, I've pulled the ripcord on it. But in reality, like you said, does that mean you're gonna stop sending them the weapons?
Because that's the only thing ultimately that matters. So let's pull that thread. Let's lay out why that would be a possibility. What could be going on there if this is all theater and Trump is just playing a part? Well, we know the Israelis were running low on interceptors, and the Iranians had demonstrated some capacity to genuinely do damage, right? So let's say the Israelis actually wanted a timeout to be able to regroup. I think that's entirely...
This is what you do.
Entirely possible.
Right.
But that... they don't want to show any sort of weakness, like they're the ones who have to withdraw, and the war is very popular in Israel. So Netanyahu needs a pretext in order to have this pause and be able to regroup. Well, if the American president is like yelling at you and saying he's very unhappy and, you know, doing this whole ceasefire thing and like quote unquote forcing you to stop, then, you know, then that gives you some cover domestically. And it gives you some cover internationally to have the chance to regroup, resupply, figure out what's next, while saving face and making sure that, you know, you're not projecting weakness, that it wasn't that you needed to stop and needed a break. It's that your back was up against, that you were forced into this by the Americans. So it's very possible that's exactly what's going on right now.
Yeah, and all Bibi has said so far is pretty much nothing. There's some reports that he just said, like, yeah, we have a ceasefire. But that's the extent of everything and anything he said. Yeah. Which also is sort of interesting to note that.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, the bottom line is you can't trust any of these people. We know that they lie routinely to their own public. They lie to their adversary. Like, they just lie as a matter of course in order to accomplish whatever it is they want to accomplish. And so, you know, you always have to consider the possibility that it's all fake and it's all a lie, because that has played out many times before. Yeah,
and I mean, the biggest point is the logic of this has been building since literally 2018 when Trump pulled out of the Iranian nuclear agreement. It was really starting then that it was sort of like an undeclared war on Iran by both Israel and the U.S.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? The assassination of Qasem Soleimani.
Well, the maximum pressure sanctions campaign.
All of it.
Yeah.
And so the logic has built up to this, where you do attacks against their nuclear facilities, you knock out some top political and military officials, and you effectively have them on the ropes in the sense that, like, the war has started, it's on, right? And then now would be the time when they would say, but just kidding, bro, we're done, bro. It's like, I just can't see that being the end of it. And further proof of that, in my estimation, is that after he announced the ceasefire, we've already had fighting since the ceasefire, so it's not even really a ceasefire. People were tweeting like, bro, the ceasefire lasted 7 minutes. The ceasefire lasted 31 minutes, right? So...
I mean, Israel violates every ceasefire that has ever existed. That's just like what they do.
Yeah, I mean, when Trump said this shit, my mind immediately went to the fake Gaza ceasefire. And in the fake Gaza ceasefire, the rules were skewed toward Israel, and they still violated the ceasefire. Yeah. Just like in this one, Iran had to stop firing after 6 hours, and Israel got 12 hours. Where it's like, what? What are you talking about? That's absurd. So anyway, that's where we are right now. The question is not if. The question, in my opinion, is when things fire back up in a pretty strong way. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
All right. There you have it.